Welcome to the Manufacturing Matrix, the podcast put on by Fuuz, the industrial cloud platform. My name is Craig Scott, the founder and CEO, and I am here with a whole group of folks in the room here today. So we'll go around, do some quick introductions. Why don't we start with you, Brandon?
Yeah, so my name is Brandon Peterson. I am the newest and software engineer here at Fuuz, and yeah, happy to be a part of it.
Yes, you are both new and a software engineer. You got both questions correct. Good.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Ryan Hamilton. I'm senior software engineer at Fuuz. Been here for 5+ years, and looking forward to the podcast.
Yes.
It's got to be more than 5, isn't it?
5 or 6 or something. I don't know. 2019.
I feel like you were
6
in
years, I guess.
diapers when you started.
Yeah.
The company was.
Yeah, this is true.
I'm starting to lose track of the number of days I've worked here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm Lance Winter. I'm the director of engineering. I've been with the company for 8+ years.
It seems
think-
like
I
it's
think.
been longer than that.
I think we're closing on 9. So
Really? Okay. All right. Well, awesome. So thanks for coming in, everybody. Today we've got a topic we're going to talk about, the Automate show that all you guys had the experience of going to the other day, and I did not. So I'm going to do the best I can to draw out of you
yeah,
as much information because I want to learn as much about it and what was interesting and what was not interesting, and then at the end probably talk a little bit about what you guys think for us to attend this show in the future. If you think that would be a good idea, and maybe some different ideas around that. So who would like to begin with the highlight of the show? What was your favorite thing, Ryan?
All the robots. The robots were very cool.
Plenty of robots.
big robots.
And a lot of different shapes and sizes. I mean, between like the Boston Dynamics dog robots and the people-like robots, but also just like the, dedicated machine arms and stuff like that. There was There was a robot that was shuffling boxes, and it would take 3 boxes, and it would pick them up, it would put them on a machine, compress them together, and then it would stack them depending on how it could to get to the next level, basically. So it would, if it could only grab 2 from the left side, it would grab 2, it would position itself to grab the 3rd, go back up, compress, move it over, stack 2 down, drop another one. Like, it would continually adjust to however it had to stack the boxes.
Optimize the bin packing.
It was really impressive, and it was extremely fast too. That's the thing too. Is like it wasn't just kind of like crawling along trying to put this stuff together. It was extremely effective. I mean, no person could ever move at the speed at which this robot was going.
I don't know. Have you ever seen me stack boxes? Pretty fast. But no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've seen the Boston Dynamics, probably a lot of cobots as well, right? So you mentioned the humanoids.
Right.
Yep.
They
had the little one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was
one.
actually Boston Dynamics, but little
Yeah.
human, and then a couple of the dog format spot style.
Wow,
robots.
those are interesting.
Yeah, it would come up and it would shake your hand too.
Oh,
if you
really?
put your hand out, it would shake your hand. It gave a lady a hug, which was a little concerning,
Yeah,
but
a little weird.
it was cool. There was also another one that had a crane coming out of it, and if you dropped anything on the floor, it would pick it up and hand it to you, which was interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, it would just naturally figure it out. It
That's wild.
kind of just did it.
So there must be some combination of not just robots, but some machine vision.
A lot
Something,
of
right?
computer vision.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Makes sense. What
Right.
about you, Brandon?
Man, I kind of went out on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had places to go, and
Yeah, we had the whole team there, and we kind of walked in, and Brandon was like, "Do you guys have a plan?" And I was like, "No, we kind of wanted." He's like, "Well, I got a list, so I'll see you guys."
Oh, nice.
I don't blame him at all.
All right.
But I mean, I didn't see the trash picker upper after you robot or
Well, to be clear, it wasn't trash. It was just
Well,
like if you
sorry,
set down
yeah.
your water bottle, it
Right,
would pick it up
right.
and hand it to you. So yeah,
yeah.
Sounds very handy.
yeah.
I need one of those at home.
So yeah, that's really cool. One of my favorites was light guide systems.
Yeah.
I've been kind of passively following them for a few years at this point,
Interesting.
just because I They were almost one of the first employers that I worked for.
Oh, really?
I did interview with them,
Yeah.
but it just kind of came down to one or the other. Went with a different one, but I really like their product. It's pretty cool. They project on a work center workspace, literally a like projector screen, so it can like light up different areas, and then it also has various sensors that can tell when you've like completed a certain task. So if you're like you put something in the wrong spot, it'll show red. It's like, no, get this out of here, and it'll just walk you through the entire whatever
whatever the process is, the different steps. I think that's pretty cool because I've heard there's a lot of issues now with safety on the plant floor, right? Because of the workforce. The guys with all the experience are kind of leaving, and the new guys are coming in with less experience. They're maybe not following the work instructions. I know my kids always follow instructions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
You train them well.
Yeah. I mean, they never assemble something from IKEA without reading the book.
Is that such a bad thing?
Better than me.
I mean, I'm being facetious, right? So what you think is a bookcase turns out to look like a sofa when you're done, and you spend more time taking the thing apart. But anyways, I think that's those types of tools, the machine vision and the sensing. There's a lot of AI out there doing some of that stuff as well to help protect people in the workstation environment.
I saw a lot of different like safety oriented companies there too.
Yeah. And Lake Guide's interesting because our director of operations worked there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a former coworker of mine works there, tech lead. So
Awesome.
I think we had considered a partnership with them a couple, previous sort of life.
Back in our old life, we built an integration from Light Guide to Plex. To record production based on completing.
That's right. We did.
Process steps. Yeah.
Small world.
But I thought they're particularly interesting at a fair dedicated to automation, right? Because their whole premise is empowering human workers.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was just a fascinating, here they are at a convention with a bunch of robots and autonomous vehicles and computer vision and AI, and their whole premise is like we're just going to take human beings and make them more efficient and safer and keep those human workers on the floor, which is neat.
It's a little more analog.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting fit. So,
I think that's kind of analogous to cobots too.
Yeah.
I did expect to see more cobots, but there definitely were a few.
Yeah.
It's kind of freaky at first seeing like a robot that's the size of you that's just out of its cage,
walking around. Yeah. Somebody let it loose.
So what did you see, Lance? That was
I don't know if it was a highlight, but I was kind of surprised by the number of autonomous vehicles, the amount of like kind of automated forklifts and material handling, which might be a little overrepresented in my head just because the booths take up a ton of space. So like the footprint was probably overrepresented, but I expected a lot of robot arms, and there were a lot of arms, kind of that style of robot, but the amount of forklifts and little carts and lifters and like, I think that surprised me.
Yeah.
So
a lot of material handling.
Which I think, maybe it shouldn't be a surprise, but clearly we've been moving toward automation in sort of manufacturing, and I think I at least am pretty familiar with kind of how you can bring automation to like an assembly line. Mm-hmm. But my impression is that at a lot of companies, there are still people driving forklifts, right? All of the material handling is done still largely manual. So it's an area there's a lot of potential for automation. So.
Yeah. I think forklift traffic is like the single leading cause for the highest number of
I believe it.
Instances within a manufacturing plant, right? You're walking around, not paying attention.
Yep.
Get forked.
Yeah. Somebody moving a couple tons of metal around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go through one safety training and you remember that fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So a lot of companies sounds like a lot of focus on safety. And I mean, by implementing safety, you get some optimization out of it too. But yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. So what about from like a technology standpoint? Any standout vendors there, software wise?
Yeah, we talked to a couple that I think are sort of adjacent to us, or in some cases competitors. We had a couple kind of funny conversations with sales guys where we kind of explained what we do, and they said, "Oh, so you're a competitor?" And it's like, "What? I mean,
that's giving them a lot of credit,
right? Right? I mean, I mean, our software is clearly superior, so I mean, it's not really competing,
right?"
But we had a great little chat with folks from Tulip. And they kind of gave us a little demo of their software, which again is a little interesting because they're, it's kind of an interesting fit. Not automation in the sense of robots, but they're kind of talking about.
They've got the whole frontline worker.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like a light
HMI
guide.
Yep.
Step-by-step process.
But it was nice to see some of their software in kind of a live demo and have a chat. But we had a little bit of commiseration about how difficult it is to sell a platform as opposed to just a point solution. Yeah. You don't have kind of a dedicated audience like you do with a specific point solution. So that was a fun little collective nod of like, that's tough.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Did you wind up having a good chat with the folks from Ignition?
Yeah, it was cool. I wish that there were more recognizable faces there. Just because I've been an Ignition integrator until I joined Fuuz for about 3.5 years. So
in that community,
yeah, and it's cool. They were really promoting the Ignition 8.3 and all of its cool features. Got to learn a little bit more about those.
Nice.
I mean, I'm excited for it, even though I won't be really.
Using it. Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
So that's like a version, huh? 8.3. That's interesting.
You have to
There's like versions.
upgrade and like do a migration. And
You have to.
Yes. So
Now you're catching.
Yeah.
on.
No. So they've got it's a minor version jump, so it's not as big as the one from 7.9 to 8.0. That one, I've had a project or two for doing that migration. That one is not very fun. But yeah,
it's like
Yep.
I dealt with that a couple times.
Yeah.
It was pretty painful.
Yeah.
Namely, the shared script system being migrated was problematic.
Yeah, they're making some changes to the underlying kind of, the system setup portion of the platform, kind of moving things over to the file system, making it a little bit more accessible to developers and whatnot. But
cool.
But yeah, I think in my hard drive or something, I've got probably half a dozen different versions, like installers.
Yeah.
Like 1-to-1, the upgrade in place is pretty nice, but
Yeah.
frequent updates.
What kind of the robots, all of that's pretty innovative, right? Humanoids, dogs. My dog will shake your hand as well. Just so
Cool.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, their dog did a headstand. I think I was thinking. I had to train mine to do that.
Mine eats.
Wow.
Yes.
You got a one up there.
And it goes to the bathroom. Can the robot do that?
Do you want it to?
No. Can you imagine? It's like a little block comes out. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Got to pick up these blocks again.
You can harvest minerals that way.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, did you guys stop by any other booths? Like any?
There was one I thought was really cool, and it was this modular, stackable system for acquiring materials. And so basically just like a ton of bins that would go just higher and higher and higher. And you'd come up to the thing, basically you'd scan some sort of QR code, barcode, whatever it may be, for a work order. And it would go and pick and pull every bin you needed.
Oh, neat.
For all the parts. And you just grab your quantity of parts out there, you shuffle it back, it would take all the bins, put them right back up. So it's like really high density for all of your parts, because it could grow I can't remember what the guy said max height was, but it was something absurd. Like you can stack this thing forever, and it's just basically the same exact part that you just keep putting on top of it, bolting it in, putting another one, bolting it in,
and just extends it,
and it just goes up forever.
Wow,
Neat.
Yeah,
it's like a vertical storage tower.
yeah. And I was saying, wow, this would be great for Amazon or somebody, because they make these like super tall warehouses, right?
Yeah.
And he was saying, they've contacted us, and because they do have all this space and they generally don't use it. They don't use a lot of the height.
Yeah, the vertical.
Yeah. And it would be just amazing for them to be able to come in, especially if they could, like I was telling them, like if you could aggregate the work orders, to get like, some number of them, kind of like have it pull down the bin and you can grab extra quantities to fill multiple.
Yeah.
I mean, your space saving is huge.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I thought that was a really cool one.
Yeah. That combined with our new wave picking in the WMS application would be just so nice. Yeah. Be perfect.
Not implemented quite yet, but
it'd be perfect.
I'm pretty excited about it.
I was thinking about it too with the little skateboards. They have like the little skateboard robots. You could, pick everything, slap it on the top of it, and then it drives it over to the shipping dock or whatever, or fulfillment
bench
or whatever.
to kit it together. Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah. All the technology out there really got me thinking about the integration side of that, though, right? Like, Light Guide, I had a chat, and they said, we do Ethernet IP. Like, all right, good, we support that. And a lot of the maybe older material handling automation stuff probably also is sort of PLC driven or PLC integration. But like, I was thinking about like the fully autonomous forklifts. Like, what is the interface or integration with their control system look like?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done one.
It's over the air.
Yeah. So I mean, like exactly what's the protocol, and there's some fun stuff to figure out as we, there's more flavors of automated equipment that are kind of newer, right? So they're going to use hopefully newer communication protocols. Stuff over MQTT or
hopefully it's just MQTT.
Right, but that would be the hope.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting you say that, because I was talking to Cody's friend who works at one of the big three, and he said if you could make software that would integrate with all of these new machines, because they're all basically proprietary.
yeah, okay.
He said that's a $1 billion idea.
Yeah.
Like if you can write software that will integrate all of these together, it won't force these automakers to either go and make their own or be
Buy from
stuck
a
with
vendor.
one vendor.
Yeah.
Because he said a lot of those vendors will make one or two items, but they don't cover the whole spectrum. And so you're stuck with trying to figure out how to get these two things to talk to each other, and you just can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Lance, I'm curious of your opinion on whether there's kind of two sides to this coin, like newer companies having more modern solutions. Oh, maybe that means that they're using more common solutions as well, and maybe we're getting away from all the individual proprietary.
Sometimes, right? Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
then that might not be the case. I'm curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, I mean the dream, right, is that everybody converges on an open framework that's sort of the agreed upon, which it seems like in sort of maybe the OT data layers, largely MQTT, sort of like the protocol that people are leaning on. But I think, like what Ryan said, there is still a lot of proprietary protocols out there, and people who are a little afraid to embrace not necessarily open source approach, but at least like an open connectivity framework, which is really unfortunate, right? So we really embrace that open connectivity approach, kind of making sure that our gateway and our, anything that we run plays nicely with whatever software might be out there, whatever you might already be using or might be interested in using. But that, the fact that there are still a lot of companies that are building proprietary hardware and software for that puts more burden on, say on us to build a dedicated driver, or, so they've got to pull another piece of software into their stack to do that interface and turn it into something that's common. That's really unfortunate. But
yeah, I mean, if I put myself in the shoes of like the hardware provider, right? Every piece of hardware you buy is a fixed asset that has like a lifespan to it, right? So eventually this thing I buy is going to expire and it's going to have to be replaced. But before I replace that one, I've already added additional. So it's just, how do you keep your customer sticky as a hardware vendor? And you have to have proprietary closed loop systems They all do it. Siemens, Rockwell, they're all guilty of it.
Yeah, you want that. But the flip side of that is that once somebody is bought into somebody else's ecosystem, you're never getting in there. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if your equipment can cooperate, then
You at least have a chance.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I think it expands your
exactly
audience.
expands your target audience, and sure, you might not have, you know, one probably unhappy customer who's stuck with your stuff, but you know, it opens the horizons. I would think to kind of future expansion.
Yeah.
As someone who's kind of new to the Fuuz team, right? One thing I think was pretty cool is that if there's a driver or something that Fuuz doesn't support, because there's a million out there, like that's something we might end up adding to our repertoire.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've actually talked about, no promises, we've talked about finding ways to allow open source contribution to our drivers and connector framework, because there are some things that, you know, we don't have maybe the capacity to build, or probably more specifically, we don't have like equipment to test with, right? Like for example, we don't have an autonomous forklift in our basement that we can just like make sure that we have
The
integrated
thousands
correctly.
of different things that are out there that you might want to integrate with. So I think enabling the customer and our partner to be able to build their own drivers and utilize those within the Fuuz platform would be awesome.
It's an interesting possibility. Yeah. There was also to circle back to the fair, there was a lot of AI, as you might expect, right? Hot topic.
What's AI?
It's I think it's artificial intelligence or something like that. I mean, so a lot of companies, little startups that are something.ai.
Yeah,
lots of those. The AI top level domain. And there were a lot of the big companies had their big flagship banners that just were plastered with AI driven or AI powered, just it's a real marketing buzzword at this point. That's for sure. So there was one vendor who I won't call out who was talking about how they kind of track cycle times of individual operations using computer vision, right? So they like track that information over time. And then the guy was like, and then we apply some AI to like figure out, kind of like the average time for each operation, throughout the outliers. And I was like,
that's
isn't that just math?
Yeah, that's.
I'm pretty sure that's just math.
Yeah, that's literally just math.
So
that's funny.
A little. I get a little concerned as a lover of technology. And
I think people are taking this concept of AI and saying if it's the computer is kind of giving me the result, then it must be AI.
Yeah, and
it's not.
I guess you're right. Computer science major, right?
Yeah.
Like I think we all have like the book definition.
The academic
of AI.
Side of it is not exactly there yet. But yeah, it's funny when like, Chat GPT came out and then like a month later, everybody else is like powered by AI. Like, no, you're not.
Right.
You didn't.
Yeah, you didn't
just jumping on this bandwagon.
Yeah. You didn't rework your entire software product to be powered by AI in 2 months. Like,
right.
You might have integrated a chatbot.
It's insane.
But,
And the tricky part about it is that it's so hard to tell if, one of these new products or new AI, this or that is, actually does have a lot of value and merit,
Like some merit,
right?
Or if it is just like
Hype.
plugging an algorithm onto something that doesn't fit.
Somebody trying to hop on the bandwagon and squeeze some venture capital money. Not that there's that much available anymore, but trying to just fundraise and get a little funds. But maybe you haven't. There is a lot of that. We kind of talk about that a bit sometimes about how people will kind of invent a solution to a problem that they also invented, right? That or that they maybe don't have the experience to sort of know is actually a problem. Some people will kind of build a software company premised around. There was one that was like engineering drawings and digitizing them and then using an LLM to ask questions about your engineering drawings, I guess. So that was their AI spin on it. Was
So it's like a scanner.
It's optical,
With
right? It's
some
OCR, exactly. Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, is usually driven by some sort of machine learning, which is AI by the definition, the
Yeah.
book definition. But most people, when they hear AI, they think LLMs these days.
Yeah.
That's sort of becoming
The consumer
popular
yeah.
understanding of what AI is.
Right.
LLMs being the large language models.
Yeah. Yes, for the layman. Yes, the
Yes.
Chat GPTs of the world. So
Yeah. I mean, it's really being driven by consumers, right? And, you know, a lot of consumers are people that are in positions of authority to buy
True.
technology and software for their organizations. And so they see how incredible having a little Chat GPT app on their phone can be that helps them from a personal standpoint. And, oh, wouldn't this be amazing for my company? No.
Yeah, not
No.
always.
Yeah.
No. There are some potential, really good cases out there where a chatbot LLM could really help with specific things. We talk a lot about documentation being in
Oh, yeah.
software.
For that.
Yeah. It's got some great uses, but I do fear that people are trying to cram it into corners that it doesn't fit.
Significant limitations.
Yeah.
The,
How many times it gives you an answer that is just wrong.
Yep.
Yes.
And so if you're dependent on this technology, that's a bad place to be.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say that the I think an interesting way to look at it is like you were mentioning, computer vision is technically AI.
Yeah.
But we don't call it AI.
No.
Right.
We call it computer vision.
Right.
And computer vision isn't a magic bullet or magic silver bullet,
Yeah.
magic solution, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And we know what its use case is, and so we've stopped using a buzzword for it. I mean,
Yep.
computer vision, maybe that's a buzzword, but not nearly as much as AI is.
Yeah. It's settled into its sort of role, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you mentioned that there's a company there that was it you who's using chatbots to do ladder logic programming or something, right? Like
No.
somebody.
That was Cody.
It was Cody. Sorry,
yeah.
somebody had mentioned. Yeah, there's a company there that is using chatbots to drive ladder logic programming in PLCs.
Yeah.
Which
Why?
I mean, they like it falls into the same problems as using chatbots to drive other programming, which is that like you run the risk of having it write code that you can't verify is correct.
Yeah.
Which in the case of like a web app is, oh no, it crashes or gives me bad output. In the case of like a PLC control, that could be really bad.
Oops,
right?
just killed someone.
Right. Like that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So
I think that, that like with anything, I'm sure we use Copilot, right?
Yes.
And, it should be augmented
Yeah.
intelligence.
yeah, definitely.
You got to still have somebody with the real intelligence, right? And it's
Yep.
a great tool to help you do things more efficiently.
Absolutely.
And even error check, run some quality control, document all of those kinds of things. But I don't think you can rely on that technology to do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not
Maybe someday, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
I more recently started using Copilot in VS Code, and when it's right, it's really nice. I mean, it does save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
It also can generate unit tests very easily, and they are actually surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Just its ability to look at the code, inspect where there could be holes, and then use some unit tests for it is, I mean, even that in itself is helpful.
Yeah.
Another thing is like I was working with duration strings the other day, and instead of having to go and take the duration string and then calculate that in milliseconds, because I can't really do that in my head every single time, it would automatically know that I was looking for a milliseconds property on there, and it would pre-compute it, and I would just click tab and it would put it in there. I mean, that saved me probably half an hour at least in just writing those tests.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to take every string and convert it every single time and then paste it back in. And you lose the like thought train there. Like you're like trying to just rip through one by one by one, but now you go somewhere else and you come back and you go somewhere else and you come back. And it's just that repetition of like leaving your thought train doesn't have to happen anymore when you can just be augmented with this AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's wrong, 2 out of 5 times, just hit backspace, like
Right.
Control Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But having that auto generate, like finishing the pattern that you started, it's kind of like it's like trying to finish your sentence like constantly.
Yeah.
And that is in a sense, literally what it's doing. But
Which
Yeah.
can be annoying, I will say. It is kind of like somebody whispering in your ear the
Yeah,
whole
it
time
is,
you're trying
yeah.
to program. Like, what if you put this over here?
That's your ASMR.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so crazy. So
Yeah.
did anybody come away with any good loot? Any door prizes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Calipers. I got a DigiKey caliper.
Yeah, DigiKey,
Nice.
they had, I think, the best stuff. They had a printed circuit board ruler.
Okay.
So like no
that's
components on it, but all of the masking was done. So like
Yeah.
ruler markings and holes and some fun little Easter eggs built into that.
That's pretty
It
neat.
was neat.
Jared got a
handout.
free Raspberry Pi 5.
He did, yeah. One of our courses won one of the drawings.
Nice.
Unfortunately, he'd already left before he got the email.
Wow.
So he, I think he might be trying to go back down today to pick it up.
Oh yeah.
Just, I mean, those Pi 5s aren't cheap. So
Yeah.
but
No, that's awesome. You didn't win anything?
no, I mean, I also got a DigiKey ruler.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not very original, but no, I mean, I love going and meeting people and seeing what technology's out there. You know, I'm always impressed by something, whether it is a cornhole playing robot that is like
Nails it.
nailing every
Yeah.
single time, or just like other MES or MES adjacent companies
Yeah.
that are making their own solutions. You know, like it was really cool to see Tulip.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't really checked them out before, so it was cool to see how they do things. You know, and we're just generally able to learn from everyone else.
Yeah.
Because everyone does things differently, and some things are better in their own way. And yeah, it was really cool. I just love meeting people and learning stuff.
Yeah. And walking around the show. So it was a pretty big show.
a very big show.
It was
huge.
Yes.
Any idea how many people might have attended? Did you guys hear?
I don't know how many people. Oh, over 800 vendors. They filled basically
Wow.
the entirety of Huntington Place, Cobo Hall.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
it was enormous.
800. That's insane.
Yeah, it was a big show. So that's
Not only did they fill the main show floor, but they then filled the basement as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
The lower floor.
Wow.
yeah.
I remember being at a trade show there. We were talking about it on the way over here, where we were like in the corner.
Yeah.
for
like that
another
in the,
company.
in the hallway. Basically, that was the whole conference was in the hallway.
Just
yeah.
in the hallway. That's funny.
Yeah, but on a personal highlight, there were some really big 3D printers and then some really expensive 3D printers. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing some sintered nylon 3D printed parts from Forum Labs.
Thinking
So
about this for the makers.
Yeah, yeah. Dropped a few hints,
Yeah.
like, hey, you
Yeah.
know, if you're ever looking to,
Yeah. Charitable.
donate to charity, yeah, we'll
Nonprofit.
take your stuff.
Yeah.
It is incredible the quality of part you can get out of a 3D
Yeah.
printer today.
Yeah.
You know,
It's come along.
Yeah, they had some print in place bearings,
Oh,
like
wow.
nylon printed bearings, and it just perfectly smooth,
Wow.
super cool. So
You know, it's funny. Just yesterday, literally like after the show, I went over to the makerspace and my my watch.
printed yourself a
Deal.
little watch band.
Yeah, because it had broken, and
There you go.
it took me 30 minutes. It was awesome.
There you go.
They had somebody had an FDM printer that was a meter by meter by meter.
Oh yeah.
It was you could fit in the
That's-
printer. It was huge.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, wouldn't mind one of those. It was only $35,000, I think.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
which is really actually quite affordable for the size.
Yeah. For what
Yeah,
it's
that's
doing.
a steal.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow, that's insane. So is that the type of show that you guys think that that we should participate in? Like, is it?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that as we were wandering around. It's an interesting niche. I think especially if we can come up with some really compelling demonstrations of how we fit into the kind of automation framework.
Yep.
I think there's a ton of value. If we just show up with like the platform in abstract,
MES stuff.
it's going to be maybe a bit of a miss.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of potential given what we're trying to do with the gateway with UNS for us to kind of
So it'd be
show off.
probably be really interesting maybe to look at partnering up with one of those AGV companies.
Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Work
Doing
something
some
out.
sort of real integration would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a PLC integration, with some more complicated system,
What if we did like a bag toss? and
counted?
And we counted them. And then if you get it in a certain number of times, we'd like print a label.
Yeah.
That would be very original.
No, we did. We had.
Yeah.
We had that.
We did that one.
Wait, okay.
That was
Yeah.
a previous trade show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We didn't have the robot throwing it,
Oh,
but it was a human.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I like connecting the, what we do with like everyday things because I think it helps some of the like non-technical people like try to wrap their minds around what this is all about.
Yeah, and I'm working on our newest iteration of the warehouse management system, and so in my head I'm like nerding out about barcode scanners and what if we made like a little barcode scanning game where they do this and then like something happens and they scan it over here and then ta-da.
Like whack-a-mole with barcodes.
There you go.
But yeah, on the plant floor it's real tedious to like use a touch screen all the time or to have to like
get gloves on,
type stuff in.
oily hands.
But if you can just use your scanner and just boop. Try to turn everything into a barcode scan. It's kind of a fun little way of thinking
I
about
thought you were going to say turn everything into a game.
Well, that too.
That does make work more fun.
Yeah.
Gamify manufacturing.
Yeah.
I think there's some potential there.
So you earn badges based on your production output for the day.
Oh my gosh, we could do that.
You could get prizes.
Let's not go too far.
Loot boxes. Get new skins for Fizzy.
Yeah.
Everyone's running around the plant like they're playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
Just,
Catching all the inventory.
found one.
Oh.
So, it sounds like not 100% convinced that you guys think we would do the show, but if we did, it might be interesting to partner up with another technology provider and kind of build a solution together with them to show the benefits of extending, IT down to the plant floor and what that could do.
Yes.
I did have someone ask me, where's your booth at? I was like, we didn't go this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially since this year was in Detroit. It's like,
Right.
it's kind of down the road.
We could have at least had like just a tiny booth,
Yeah, a little 10 by 10. But
yeah, the trade shows are just weird. It's like hard to find one that we really fit in well because we cover so many different things. So I don't know. It's just something we haven't done in the past, but we'll do more.
Yeah, at some point we'll just have to start shoehorning ourselves into some of them anyway, even if it's...
I mean, I'm excited for the Prove It conference if I get to go next year.
Well, and that's the same thing we did with that was we just went to check it out just to see, is this something that would be relevant for us? And sure it was. And we were all disappointed we didn't do a booth because we're like, we could have blown this thing out of the water. But, you just don't know until you go.
Yeah, which we will be. A couple of upcoming shows this year. So
Yeah, a lot of new stuff coming out. So, well, awesome, guys. I'm glad you guys got out of the office. It was a nice day. Did Lance buy everybody lunch?
Not really. Their like lunch system was pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
So
okay.
But I told everybody they should expense their receipts.
Okay.
All
right, fair
They
enough.
didn't give me
If
one.
you didn't, they didn't give me a receipt either. So
All right. Well, I bought you lunch today.
Yeah.
So
there we go. We're
all square.
I would have, to be clear, I would very happily have done so. But
All right. Well, it's definitely fun to get out and see stuff. A lot of us get stuck in the office and we're just, heads down, hands on keyboards all day. So being able to see that like manufacturing is actually a growing and thriving part of our, economy and everything. So hopefully, especially for some of the younger guys, it was hopefully pretty eye opening.
Yeah. It was a nice field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, we do have some pretty good relationships, like with, Fanuc and some of the other guys in the area. I mean, we could always, tap them on the shoulder for like a, hey, let's come check out the R&D.
I think that'd be very
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Next week?
Sure. Yeah. But that's what, I think that's what a little bit different about us at Fuuz and our software guys and really get into the manufacturing space.
Yeah.
And really try to, understand the way that the customers want to be able to use this system.
Yep.
Unlike-
I think we're all generally pretty interested in
Yeah.
really a broad scope of things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
to get a little hands on. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good to hear. Well, thanks, guys. It was great to hear about the show. Maybe hopefully we'll get to go next time.
Yep.